Okay, we're on Genesis chapter 42. We have completed Joseph's humiliation in Egypt, first as a slave, then as a prisoner, and yet the Lord was with him. It's an illustration of what we had today in our sermon, where Joseph was first humiliated and he remained humble, even though he was humiliated through no fault of his own. He remained faithful and served even in his humiliation as a slave and then as a prisoner, and then was exalted. All right, so now we leave where we left Joseph off. He had been raised to the highest position of power next to Pharaoh himself in the land of Egypt. He was given Pharaoh's second chariot. He was given command over the entire country. And this is particularly so that Joseph can oversee the preparation through the 7 years of plenty to stockpile grain to feed the people and even the nations around them for when the 7 years of severe famine come. When Jacob learned that there was grain for sale in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" And he said, "Behold, I have heard that there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go down and buy grain for us there, that we may live and not die." In other words, why are you looking at each other as if you're going to be able to solve this problem on your own? The word spread, of course, that Egypt had a huge stockpile of grain. So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. 10, not 11. Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. Joseph and Benjamin are the two sons of Rachel. Thus the sons of Israel came to buy among the others, who came for the famine. For the famine was in the land of Canaan. So it wasn't just a famine in Egypt, remember. It was a drought leading to no crops in the entire area, in the known world, you might as well say. And so it was quite severe. Now Joseph was governor over the land. He was the one who sold to all the people of the land. And so even during the years of famine, now you have all this stockpile. You have to manage it wisely. Again, it would be very easy to waste, and it's got to last 7 years. So the same, Joseph, who oversaw the saving during the 7 years of plenty, now is also overseeing its distribution. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed themselves before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he treated them like strangers, and he spoke roughly to them. So now this has been some years, remember. There's the 7 years of plenty that he's governor during, and then there were some years before that while he was a slave and a prisoner. So he speaks roughly to them, and we see that he's going to speak in Egyptian, and he's going to be dressed like an Egyptian, probably has his head shaved like an Egyptian. They do not recognize him. He says, "Where do you come from?" They said, "From the land of Canaan to buy food." Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed of them. And so he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." So what would a spy come for? Well, they want to come and see how bad it is in Egypt because it could make them a target ripe for attack. When one nation suffers a famine, it often became an opportunity for another nation that wasn't suffering a famine to attack, because when a country doesn't have any way to feed its armies, then they become weak. And they said, "We, your servants, are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father. and is no more. But Joseph said to them, It is as I said to you, you are spies. By this you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not go from this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you and let him bring your brother while you remain confined, that your words may be tested whether this is truth, whether there is truth in you. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies. And he put them all together in custody for 3 days. So they were under house arrest. So why is he asking for Benjamin, do you think? Is it just because he wants to see his brother? No, it's not what it is. Remember, they despised Joseph because his father loved Joseph. Their father loved Joseph so much, even more than them. Well, now Benjamin is the only son of Rachel left, right? And so now Joseph is trying to determine, will they do to Benjamin what they did to me? All right. On the third day, Joseph said to them, Do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers remain confined where you are in custody, and let the rest go and carry grain for the famine of your households. And bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. Then they said to one another, In truth, we are guilty concerning our brother, in that we saw the distress of his soul when he begged us, and we did not listen. This is why this distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them, Did I not tell you not to sin against the boy? But you did not listen, and so now there comes a reckoning for his blood. Probably assumed by this point that Joseph died in Egypt. And so they considered themselves to be murderers, even though they didn't directly murder him. So they were saying this to themselves because here they are, they speak Hebrew. And the Egyptians obviously don't speak Hebrew, so they believe they can talk freely. But Joseph is standing right there, and he hears them say all this. So it appears to be repentance, right? That this is, they're admitting what they did was wrong. The question is, are they admitting it because they're trying to run from the consequences? Or are they truly sorrowful? Well, to determine that, he needs to see what they'll do. And so this is the reason that Joseph does what he does here. They did not know that Joseph understood them, for there was an interpreter between them. So Joseph even had a Hebrew interpreter there that he spoke through, so that he wouldn't even speak directly to them. Then he turned away from them, and he wept. And he returned to them and spoke to them. And he took Simeon from them, and he bound him before their eyes. And Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, and to replace every man's money in his sack, and to give them provisions for the journey. And this was done for them. They loaded their donkeys with their grain and departed. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his money in the mouth of his sack. And he said to his brothers, My money has been put back. Here it is in the mouth of my sack. And this their hearts failed them, and they turned trembling to one another, saying, What is this that God has done to us? So why are they so afraid? Well, they can't explain what happened, but they're absolutely convinced that Joseph is now going to accuse them of theft, of stealing all the grain now, of not paying for it. When they came to Jacob, their father, in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them, saying, The man, the Lord of the land, spoke roughly to us and took us to be spies of the land. But we said to him, We are honest men. We have never been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, By this I shall know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine for your households, and go your way. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I shall know that you are not spies, but honest men. And I will deliver your brother to you, and you shall trade in the land. As they emptied their sacks, behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack. And so it wasn't just the one. They thought, well, maybe there was a mistake with just one for some reason. But no, all their money had been returned. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob, their father, said to them, you have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more, and Simeon is no more, and now you would take Benjamin? All this has come against me. Then Reuben said to his father, kill my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you. But he said, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is the only one left, the only one of Rachel's children. If harm should happen to him on the journey that you are to make, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. All right. But they still need food. And even though they brought back a great deal of grain, it wasn't enough. You got to remember, they don't know how long this famine is going to last. Now the famine was severe in the land. And when they had eaten the grain that they had brought from Egypt, their father said to them, go again, buy us a little food. But Judah said to him, the man solemnly warned us, saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you will send our brother with us, we will go and buy food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. Israel said, why did you treat me so badly as to tell the man that you had another brother? They replied, the man questioned us carefully about ourselves and our kindred, saying, is your father still alive? Do you have another brother? What we told him was an answer to these questions. Could we in any way know that he would then say, bring your brother down? And Judah said to his father, send the boy with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die, both we and you, and also our little ones. I will be a pledge of his safety. So now both Judah and Reuben are putting themselves up as pledges. From my hand you shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. If we had not delayed, we would now have returned twice. They put it off until the last pot, until they couldn't put it off anymore. They would have had time to travel twice when it became obvious that their food was running out. They delayed only because they were not going to return without Benjamin. Then their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the choice fruits of the land in your bags and carry a present down to the man, a little balm, a little honey, gum, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. What do these things have in common? These are things that are preservable. So even though if the trees had not been bearing well during the famine, they would have still had some food in store, but not enough to survive on. Take double the money with you. Carry back with you the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. Also take your brother and arise and go to the man. May God Almighty grant you mercy before the man, and may he send back your own brother and Benjamin. And as for me, if I am bereaved of my children, I am bereaved. So, the money also a test. Joseph knows that this is going to freak them out if they find all the money again. But it's also an opportunity for them to say, well, will they just cover it over? Maybe the brothers will just keep the money for themselves and pretend that they never got their money back. And then Jacob wouldn't know any better either. So the men took this present. They took double the money with them and Benjamin. And they arose and went down to Egypt, and they stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house, bring the men into the house, and slaughter an animal, and make ready, for the men are to dine with me at noon. The men did as Joseph told them, and he brought the men to Joseph's house. And the men were afraid, because they were brought to Joseph's house. In other words, they assumed he's taking us to his house because he's going to judge us there. And they said, it's because of the money which was replaced in our sacks the first time that we're going to be brought in, so that he may assault us and fall upon us, to make us servants or slaves, and to seize our donkeys. So they went up to the steward of Joseph's house, and they spoke with him at the door of the house and said, "O my lord, we came down the first time to buy food. And when we came to the lodging place, we opened our sacks. And there was each man's money in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. And so we have brought it again with us. And we have brought other money down with us to buy food also. We do not know who put our money in our sacks." He replied, "Peace to you. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has put treasure in your sacks for you. I received your money." Both true, because through Joseph, God worked and returned their money. And he also received their money. Then he brought Simeon out to them, and when the men had brought the men of Joseph into Joseph's house and given them water, and they had washed their feet, and when they had given their donkeys fodder, they prepared the present for Joseph's coming at noon, for they had heard that they should eat bread there. When Joseph came home, they brought into the house to him the present that they had with them, and they bowed down to him to the ground. He inquired about their welfare and said, "Is your father well, the old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive?" They said, "Your servant our father is well. He is still alive." And they bowed their heads and they prostrated themselves. And he lifted up his eyes and he saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, "Is this your youngest brother of whom you spoke to me? God be gracious to you, my son." And then Joseph hurried out, for his compassion grew warm for his brother, and he sought a place to weep. He was overcome with emotion, and he could not let them see him cry. And he entered his chamber, and he wept there. And then he washed his face, and he came out. And controlling himself, he said, "Serve the food." They served him by himself. Joseph, being the highest leader in the land, does not eat with everybody else. So he's not there. They can't see him. And them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. The Egyptians were a proud people. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. Okay, 11 brothers. They were given assigned seats. And it just so happened that they were lined up in birth order, seat by seat. Well, this is disturbing. The men looked at each other in amazement. Portions were taken to them from Joseph's table, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they drank and were merry with him. All right. So, not done yet, because now that Benjamin is there, Joseph has to execute his scheme that he had started when he demanded that they bring Benjamin back. If they risk Benjamin, if he puts Benjamin at risk in some way, will they abandon their brother? Or will they, or had they truly repented and changed their hearts? And that'll bring us to chapter 44 next time.
Can we read more of it now?
I'm looking at how we have to divide this up. No, this is fine.